and Lou, who do so much in terms of bringing opportunities to the state or positioning the state to be responsive to the workforce needs of our state. And so welcome. Let me also just express my appreciation to Yolanda, who has really been offering leadership on behalf of the Southern University system in shaping our initiatives. And so thank you, Yolanda, for doing so. So it's interesting that as we respond to the needs of DXC Technology Group, that Southern University at the same time was taking a critical look at our academic inventory, such that one of our aims was to ensure that our inventory aligned with 21st century opportunities, such that our graduates would be so appropriately prepared to navigate themselves within this 21st century marketplace. And during our conversation with DXC, it became, I guess, our aim was somewhat reaffirmed. Because in keeping with those conversations, I was able to grasp from their representatives that, in fact, DXC was looking for individuals who would come to them not necessarily discipline specific. DXC, in and of themselves, organization that solves problems, they were actually, as I appreciated, trying to identify individuals who could think critically and who, notwithstanding the discipline to which they graduated from, who could integrate themselves as a part of a team as guided by the aim to bring about solutions. And that was comforting to know that as institutions of higher education, we're actually preparing students for jobs that do not even exist today, but particularly making sure that students are well-rounded and have those attributes that may not fit the traditional programs of study to which we offer to them today. And that's where your tasks rest in trying to identify those students for the benefit of companies like DXC Technology, but also in terms of making sure that we have a pool of talent across the state that would be responsive to other industry giants who find value in locating here in the state of Louisiana and providing for the citizens of Louisiana an opportunity to take advantage of sustainable careers. And that's what this is all about. And that's why I appreciate your work, because I think it is very critical work in terms of what you're doing. And it, in my view, really speaks to the opportunity that rests with the higher education community in the state to respond to our respective missions. That's what it's all about, to develop talent, to advance, research and innovation, and to fulfill our public service agenda. So, again, thank you so much for being a part of this initiative, a giving of yourself, indirectly investing in our state, and being so, and of course, we are fortunate to be able to host you here at Southern. So have a good day and a more productive one. Luke, good seeing you.
Good morning. First of all, on behalf of the Department of Computer Science, School of Computer Science, let me correct myself. School of Computer Science, faculty, staff, and students want to welcome you to Southern University. And let me be the first one to tell you, I've been involved with this partnership. Before this one, we had several other ones for about 4 or 5 years now. And the work you're doing is tremendous. It's changing the way we do things. So give yourself a pat in the shoulder, because what you're doing, you're not only producing a workforce of future, but you're producing the workforce that we still don't know what they are for the future. So maybe DXC is the start. Someone about 5, 6 years ago had a vision of developing something that we can keep the kids, actually educate them and keep them in the state to be part of the future of the state. And you see the result of those. And I see it since I've been here. And I see the progress and the placement of those students. I can look at the GPA of those students, and I can see the way they make the intelligent conversation, not only with DXC, because my task is not only DXC, my task is to produce workforce for across the world. Is not just to one sector, but across the spectrum. And when you're looking at students going to Microsoft, Google, and you see them are making decisions at Facebook and other top technology, Intel, Lockheed Martin, then you say, hey, we're doing something right here. And I think this is as a result of the work you're doing for the students. We attracting more talented students as a result of this, partnership. More prepared students that when they come in, they are ready to do other things besides just going to the class and get lecture from someone. So they do outside the classroom, like for example, they doing certification. That scholarship this in project is been providing is helping a lot of students. As you know, Southern University is known for providing education and opportunity for a lot of LMI students. And this project, again, it flourished those talents. It brings those talents out. And now they can actually go and compete with the top students from the other university from other states. I'm not even talking about Louisiana. I always jump way up there, right? So I set my goal way up there, and I know I'm going to get to the rooftop someday, right? So I think, again, when we started this, Rick Kubak, he was with LSU. Me and him came from a long way. And we started this conversation with LED long time ago. And I talked to King about a month ago, and I told him that we need to expand this to other companies. We need to do much more than simply looking at 1 or 2 companies. So I think this is the beginning, and the road ahead is long and wide open. So we need to be able to engage other technology sectors and bring IT governor last week had actually established a center in Baton Rouge. Now we are getting in cybersecurity. So that is another part of things, that technology that we can talk about now, we can bring to the state. Again, thanks for being here. And again, it wouldn't happen for us. It was for Ms. Smith. She's tremendous asset, and her team. They're always around the department and talking to the kids and trying to get something moving, and an LED. So again, thank you for being here, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I know you have your full day to do it. Thanks.
Well, we have to thank Southern for hosting us today, and in this beautiful room. It is just wonderful. But this is a working meeting. We have lots of work to do. So this isn't going to be one of those meetings where you sit around do nothing. So first off, we have the ICC presentation we talked about. It's October 17th at DXC. It is going to be on their 23rd floor, newly opened executive floor. Susie has invited administrators, some government people, college administrators, a lot of your chancellors or presidents, people from the mayor's office in New Orleans, GNO Inc. So it's going to be quite a nice crowd, and our task is to sell this project, share what we have accomplished this past year, which you guys have accomplished a lot. So there's a lot to sell. Paige the other day suggested that we have Creative Services do a template. They are working on a template. You know how they work. They're not done. They're not done yet, of course. But they will do a template, and what they will do is we want each college to present your slides and your presentation, but if you send it to me, our Creative Services people will put it into the template because they want to format it all so it'll be beautiful and consistent, and you can certainly put your logo in wherever you want, put in photographs or whatever, however you want the slides to be. But you just have to give me the content. And they recommend this format, plain blank format. And so our first decision probably is, what do we want to call our presentation? And I just called it First Year Accomplishments. Anybody got something more wowza than that? First Year Accomplishment it is, so we'll have the slideshow labeled First Year Accomplishments. Vision, I don't know where they'll work that in or if they will, but that'll be up to Creative Services. Oh, and I worked it in twice. Then we'll have an agenda, which is going to show each college. And they tell me that when you get to this agenda, if Delgado comes up first, then theirs is first, but the next one you can point to and it'll click to your slides. So we should be good there. And what I was going to start with were some general project accomplishments. So I will kind of set the stage and start with some general project accomplishments. And I was thinking about 6 slides. First one, talking about team formation and the TWIGs and the work that your TWIGs did on the gap analysis, and then the co-location events. Second slide will be the recruiting goal met. That'll be a real simple one, saying we were at 170% of our goal. My third slide would be the internship program. I think that was a major accomplishment. Another major accomplishment was the Board of Regents approved the undergraduate certificate. Fifth, a major accomplishment was AWS, certainly a huge accomplishment. I will be talking in my slide will be very general terms because I'm assuming each of you will want to put an AWS slide in your own slideshow. And then finally, I'm going to set the stage for your slideshows by saying we worked on project plans for the year and included things like recruiting events, brand recognition events, short-term educational opportunities, long-term curriculum changes, and then, as I said, you probably want to talk about your AWS project. So that's it. I mean, as I said, you can do whatever you want with your slides. If you want charts or tables, You can send that information, just put it into a blank slideshow like this with no background, no music, no. If you want a video, we can incorporate a video.
What's the due date?
The due date is going to be, did I say due date? September. No. Thank you. What did they say? I think we were hoping by the 20th, because they will need some time. And I'm assuming most of you already have a lot of this.
And does this go to you?
Yes, just send it to me. I'll send it on to our creative services, and they'll plug it all in. I know most of you are already working on this. You know what your major accomplishments are and anything that you want to highlight. Do you think 10 slides a piece will do it? We said you'd have about 15 minutes to talk, so I'm thinking 10 to 12 slides. You know, you can push it a little, particularly if you've got a slide you're not going to cover in detail. The ICC meeting?
Because if you do 15 minutes times 7, that's a long time. I mean, long time.
We said,
Do we need to do 10 slides?
well, I think we said the meeting was going to be the same as this one, 10 to 12:30. So 2.5 hours. But if you want to cut the slides, cut them down 10 minutes apiece, that would be good. Because particularly the people that are going to be there. So if we want to say, okay, you have 10 minutes apiece.
About standardization, if you go back to the 6 things you wanted each college to present on, maybe those 6 slides with those 6 headings, that might be a way to uniform to make it standard. Can you go back to that?
Sure.
And assuming that we all have information under those 6 things, perhaps those are the 6 slides.
Ooh. Okay. So I was thinking your categories will be under number 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things under that category. You might have something that doesn't quite fit in any of those. If it's a major accomplishment for you, put it in. Yeah, yeah. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do maybe 6 or 7 slides. I mean, you might have more than one longer-term curriculum change that you want to highlight. You might have.
Should be able to keep all of those on one slide.
Try to keep them on one slide, but we also don't want a slide that has, an essay on it. No dissertations on slides, please. So, and creative services won't let that happen anyway. So you put the main point, and then you can always expand on that and talk about it. So 6 or 7, 8 slides, but you'll probably will want an introductory slide or a header slide that shows your college and your college logo and that kind of thing. So that will add a slide too.
We can't put graphics in there.
You can put any graphics you want in, put them on the blank slide, like that one with the picture I showed you, and then creative services will
Yeah, they may
adjust them.
As long as we stay in that 10-minute window.
Yes.
The number of slides doesn't really matter.
Yes, doesn't matter that too much. You've got 10 minutes, except for the fact that you really can't get like 20 slides in 10 minutes usually. Yeah. So yeah, you probably need it somewhere between 6 and 12.
Are you sending us this?
What?
Are you going to send us this? Or that was my question.
No, do you need, I can send you this. I mean, it doesn't say very much in my opinion, but you want those categories? Okay, okay. And so the sooner you get it to me, the better. If you don't make it by, what did we just say, September 20th deadline, you probably will have to get up without any slides. So be sure you send it to me by the September 20th deadline. I would actually prefer them before that if you can, because I know you know what you've done. So I know you know what you've accomplished, and there have been a lot of accomplishments. That's why I was like, I'm not even sure they can fit them on on 10 slides, but you can group them and that kind of thing. So do you need to get in your teams right now and talk about what your accomplishments are and what your slides are going to cover? So that was my plan, that you guys would sit down in your teams
Like with our colleges?
and go over your slides. So that when you get back, you'll go, oh, this is easy. I've got them all ready and all done. Go. So we're going to do a gap analysis with those 18 job descriptions. I am waiting for updates from DXC, so it may be a while before we get to those. But they are going to be important with our KPIs. So I'll go ahead, and I'm not going to say anything more about it right now. I've developed a form that we can use to hopefully your twigs will be able to easily complete it, or, you know, one person. You might already be able to complete it yourself. But that's going to be a little later. So now we're going to talk about KPI development. And as many of you probably know, the interagency agreements, the old ones are completed. You all submitted your reports, or your finance people or administration submitted your report. And so we have to do new interagency agreements. With those interagency agreement, it means we have to have new KPIs. Well, I think we're going to amend the old, it's easier to amend the old one, so we'll be amending the old one to cover the second year. So KPIs, I think most of you know, SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. We're going to be looking today at two levels of KPIs, those for the interagency agreement, and they are due September 13th, but you guys don't have to worry too much about that because we're going to finish it today. And then college level, that I just said hopefully you'll have those done by the next ICC meeting on October 17th.
Okay, so there'll be 2 layers.
Yeah, the interagency agreement ones will be in your interagency agreement. The college level ones are for you, for your team, for you. It's sort of setting yourself up for the next year. What do we want to try to accomplish? How are we going to measure that? So let's start with the recruiting, because that was the KPI for last year, was that big recruiting, which we all know was not that effective. But, you know, we didn't know when we set it up that DXC was not going to need 600 recruiting leads from us. So when we think about recruiting leads, we've got a major one for DXC. That will be in our interagency agreement. And then ones that you might want to set up for yourself, and this is particularly pertains to recruiting managers. You might want to talk about, you know, number of students you want to recruit to your computer science programs. Or you might want to talk about, you want to hold 2 K through 12 events to hopefully recruit high school students into your program. You can do, these would be based on your current job description, which may vary from college to college. And so I gave an example as the recruiting manager will recruit 10 new students into the computer science minor program during each semester, as just an example. So essentially you're setting goals for yourself, the recruiting managers, and of course you want to work with your project manager to help set those goals too. But the big one is going to be the interagency agreement. So this is what I proposed in thinking about what we've been doing and what we want to do in the next year. I proposed, and I just put for the next 4 years, but it actually will just be 1 year now after talking to Susie. That's going to be one for the next year. College or university, it will say North Shore Technical Community College will supply DXC with, you guys have to come up with the number of qualified applicants for each entry-level position that DXC submits to FastStart and is matched to the college's programs. So, in other words, if North Shore says it's going to, if you look at the list of job descriptions, if North Shore says it's going to create students eligible to be big data engineers, I don't think that's one of yours, North Shore, but I'll use it anyway, then we need you to come up with a number of how many leads when DXC says they've got a position open. So, for example, let's do one that, DevOps engineers. Southeastern, you produce a lot of DevOps engineers. So for each job position that DXC submits entry level to us, how many leads do you think you can give to DXC? So that's the number that you guys need to work to come up with today. So you probably, again, want to talk in your groups and think about that. And then I guess more importantly, does that kind of metric work for you? We were trying to come up with something better than like 600 leads. Dan, go ahead.
It just seems a little arbitrary. I mean, like, if we come up with, I would give you a 10. I mean, what if we do 50, or what if we do 2, or, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, like, is there, how do you do back numbers? We submit saying, for the money you're getting, there should be more. And that's the other thing too, is like, not all schools are getting the same amount of money, so would there be some kind of, I think, if you look at something quantitatively like this, that would be correlated at least to the other quantitative things, the amount of funds the schools are getting. So, like if Chuck's getting, 10 times less than I am, he shouldn't be helping save money.
That's why I want each college to come up with their own number. Oh,
What if Chuck comes up with 2 and I say, well, I'm 2, Chuck's 2, Chuck 2, I mean, that's my point, is like, how can he and I have the same number, or anyone have the same numbers if we're getting different amounts of support?
we're not, wait, we're not expecting you to have the same numbers.
But you're asking for us to determine what.
I'm asking you to determine what your numbers should be. We need them achievable. You need to be able to achieve them. Remember, we want everybody to achieve these KPIs because next year's money is always based on everybody achieving them.
Are these metrics going to be equally, like, from a quantitative point, are metrics and performing to metrics or exceeding above and beyond what a school puts as their metric going to then correlate to a distribution of funds?
And let me actually.
I was going to say, let's let Susie do.
So there's sort of two purposes to the performance indicators and sort of two different factors to evaluating the success of the partnership. We have a need for something very straightforward and very concrete and kind of incontrovertible and, very tangible to go into the interagency agreements that are formal contracts. At and during the whole course of a partnership, there are other factors that are evaluated in terms of how successful the ecosystem of DXC and the technology industry as a whole, which is, a goal of this project as well. And that is more about a holistic evaluation. And I've had conversations with many of you in the room, but actually Dan, not with you. So that will be coming across sort of the overall perspective on how things are going. So, but there were a lot of other conversations that went in there in terms of how well the curriculum is aligned to what DXC needs, how responsive the campus was. There are a lot more things that go into an understanding of sort of how successful everything is. I do think in terms of the actual number that goes in here, and by the way, I am fine if we have a set of KPIs for 4 years going out, but we're only going to put 1 year in the agency agreement because we're doing this year by year. I think that having the input of the colleges is incredibly important, but yes, we are going to need to do some looking at all of these and making sure that, there's some sort of balance there in terms of what's reasonable for the college to do. And then nobody's undershooting and nobody's overshooting, and, there's going to need to be some discussion there.
I think Dan's point, though, is that if KPIs are going to be associated with fulfilling one's obligations, then it should be correlated across the entire partnership, not just with one institution,
Yes.
but across everybody to understand that funding is associated with performance and outcomes. And if it's going to be quantitative and we're putting those in there, then it needs to be that on the front end. If it's going to be qualitative and who's communicating the most with Lou or Kim, we all need to know that.
Yes, I
Because I think there is a lot of qualitative influence that people are unaware of.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, so I think the qualitative stuff, which, you know, again, I think at the beginning of this project, that was communicated to a lot of people, that maybe not everybody in this room adequately. And so we can absolutely make sure that all of you are sort of aware of how we are evaluating the success of the project so far and moving forward.
And essentially for the interagency agreement, we have to have something auditable. So qualitative doesn't work for the interagency agreement
But then
because the
same
auditor
would
has to
apply
come
for
in.
us Funding associated or distributed at an indispersed amount if you're not evaluating things from a qualitative metric. I mean, I know the auditor better.
Yeah, you know the auditors very well, and, you know, this is a complicated process, but there is not intended from the LED perspective to be a direct one-to-one correlation between dollars and KPIs. That is not the overall perspective.
So in order to come up with a goal, do we know what their year-over-year anticipation is for hiring? Because like when we started, it was freshers. Now they're saying they need more experience in mid-level. Those numbers are going to change about the candidate pools that we have.
And
the other, like, Well, the concern
And-
about this is each entry-level position, that's guaranteeing on the front end that LSU is going to align with something that may come up in March that I very well may not be able to provide 10 qualified applicants for that entry-level position. Or North Shore won't be able to provide, you know, to each entry-level.
I think showing program to position description matches. In other words, it's matched to the college's programs. So we have this list from DXC of their 18 positions. They'll offer entry level. So what we're saying is that after we do the gap analysis, you can say, okay, and actually most of you probably should know this already because we already did one gap analysis with the 5 main positions, which these sort of fall under. For example, you can say, wait, we don't have a cybersecurity program. We're taking all of those positions off the table for our KPI. You can say we don't have. Somebody else might say we don't have big data. We don't have a statistics party. We don't have big data. We're not going to fulfill those big data positions. We're taking them off the table. So in other words, this is going to force you to say, where are we specializing? Who are our programs producing? And then say, okay, we are producing software engineers, and we think that we can produce 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is leads for every position of software engineer that DXC produces. Now, well, you're going to say, what? How many does DXC expect? They don't know. We don't know. But we do know that they plan to get to 2,000 positions by 2023. So we can, and they're about at 400 and some now. So you can kind of say it's probably going to be 6 or 7 in each of these categories. But it's going to be more in some categories and less in others. And we're not saying you have to. For example, DevOps, if you give them, you say, okay, we're producing DevOps engineers. They have a position open in March. We're going to send them 5 names. They have a position open in May. You can send them the same 5 names if they didn't get hired. The same 5 resumes. They're qualified leads. So, it's not like we don't want this to be hard to achieve. We want this to be easy for you to achieve. We just have to have some numbers. And I truthfully, I didn't think the coming up with 600 and dividing it by the colleges made much sense. We were sending leads to DXC that did not match anything they had open. So it's sort of like, why bother? They didn't do anything with most of those leads we sent them. They sat in their database. Crystal.
In year 1, do we have anything that informs
I'm happy to suggest something else. All of you, if you have a better suggestion for a KPI that's measurable, I'm happy to have you suggest something else. This was just, I thought, the best I could come up with that made sense to me. Because I don't think just throwing resumes at them is a good KPI. Except for it's at least tied to their open positions, when they publish an open position. We don't know what their positions will be. They don't know what their positions will be.
Example I see would be that Delgado were to pick position 6, 9, and 10. And we say we're gonna provide 5 people for 6, 9, and 10 every time it comes up. And they never issue a job rank for 6, 9, and 10.
You have met your KPI.
But then that's even more, that goes back to the legislative auditor. How you justify letting someone who had 100% of the zero.
That's why
It kind of, it's a really bad catch 22.
it is. Do you have a better KPI?
Why don't we do something with like different universities, what are you doing in curriculum? Like you have
I've got some curriculum one coming.
our faculty are responsible for completing and have done by next year. Like that's something.
Yeah, those are coming. This is just recruiting. And yeah, we've got some, yes, we're going to talk about that later, some curriculum ones. But I don't know, Susie, do we have to have one specific to recruiting? No. Okay. I thought we did, so, yeah.
Something that would make sense to me is like we should all be putting together an academic calendar, which I hope, I know we did, so I'm hoping a lot of us are, of specific events that we are ensuring PXC is successfully attended, has a certain amount of folks at their booths, are being able to interact with a certain number of very specific types of students. Like, those are KPIs that we can actually ensure are executed on.
And I like the idea of KPIs based on maps, like what you're talking about. I don't have any problem with that. Something that I would prefer to stay away from is people being measured on the response of DFC to presidents. So you're accountable for making sure that they're actually there. That's what I'm more proud of that. Yeah.
And I thought we had to have one for recruiting because that was sort of the way the first one was written, the first interagency agreement. But what we're not, so we can just skip recruiting if you want.
About what our KPIs are going to be at all, or, I mean,
back to recruiting later. If you guys want to talk about the curriculum KPIs, then let's throw some up. And I threw some up. Again, I'm focused on making sure that everyone can achieve these. So we don't want to say, oh, we're going to do 100 of these. I said one certificate program. I said decrease the gap analysis. And notice, since we haven't done the new gap analysis, that's a little tricky. But at this point, we want to wait until we get the latest information from DXC. And you realize that we aren't very good about getting information from DXC, which is a problem, I know. We'll work on that.
How does everybody feel about doing something associated with retention within your degree fields? Like, okay, so Southeastern, LSU, we all have different retention in, let's say, computer science, what that, like, year-to-year retention rate is. I think that it could be a goal of this group to pick that up 2 points, 2 percentage points.
And that was,
That's something that we can physically control, that doesn't take input from them, and how can DXC say that's not being accessible?
Unquestionable value in our student population.
and I actually put that under the student success.
I don't know.
But, okay, so let's come up with one. Somebody take notes.
Can I add? It's kind of a part of that, but as far as like certification.
we got a medic